Boston Celtics get the win over the Atlanta Hawks, and it was the little things. Al Horford leading the charge there. Celtics still perfect at home, and I'm going to be talking about it right here from the TD Garden on the Locked On Celtics podcast.
Be ever ready. Recognize the city of champs. Boston, baby, we do what you can't. Locked on number 18, Tatum and Brown, J-team, step back. We gon' wet that and slay teams. Of course, the Celtics, who else could it be? Screaming like KG with the Larry O.B. Karalis above average, assessing the team status. Best daily pod, no cap, salary matching. Clutch like Bird the DJ, keep John on replay. Prime time, dapping up the truth on the sideline. Raining J's, how it started, raising banners, how we finished. Locked on Celtics pod, home of the winners. B.
Hey there, welcome back to the Locked On Celtics podcast, right here in the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day, and I got you every day with a free, fresh podcast that's dropped directly to your device. If you subscribe, you can subscribe on whatever app podcasts exist. You can do it on YouTube. You can see me here at the TD Garden after the Boston Celtics 113-103 win over the Atlanta Hawks. I'm John Karalis. I used to play a long time ago. Now I cover the Celtics for Boston Sports. Let me put my name on the screen. There we go. I cover the team for Boston Sports Journal. I cover the team for you. I'm here for you whenever they play, after every game. So make sure, join me. Join me, won't you? Today's show is brought to you by PrizePicks. PrizePicks is the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNBA. Use that code LockedOnNBA, all lowercase, for a first deposit match up to $100. So, not a perfect game by any stretch. The Celtics were up 20, and of course, when you're up 20, you want to win by 20. They ended up winning by 10, which means they gave up a big portion of that lead. I'll talk about that stuff a little bit later. Plenty to like in this game, though. Plenty. And I'm going to start with the big story for me. The big story is the Al Horford led charge of loose balls, the offensive rebounds. They started Delano Banton. They started Nemaesh Queta. And they, no Drew Holiday, no Kristaps Porzingis. By the way, Holiday came out and warmed up. And I was watching him, and I thought he was going to play. And he looked fine, but clearly just not ready yet. So, but he looks like he's ready to come back soon. Porzingis is going to be reevaluated in a week, so he'll miss a few more games. So that's not ideal. And that plays into some of the stuff that I'm going to talk about later when it comes to the big run that they allowed. But with the shorthanded, with the Celtics being shorthanded and Al Horford getting the start, they just needed some kind of boost from somewhere. And Al, good old, reliable, dependable Al Horford, was out there making these plays. And after the game, Joe Mazzulla highlighted, if you watch the game again, or go watch the clip, because I'm going to have it posted on Boston Sports Journal, you probably see Jaylen Brown's ready to check into the game. And it's 103-94. It's late in the game. And Al Horford is in the left corner, and the rebound goes, Sam Hauser takes a shot from like the left above the break, and the rebound goes a little long. It goes on the other side, and Al Horford goes from the left corner across the floor to the other side, skies through the air, beats three Hawks, grabs the rebound. The Celtics didn't score on that possession, but they had another opportunity to score, and it was just like one of those things where it's like, oh my God, how's Al doing this? And at the scorer's table, Joe Mazzulla said, I turned to Jaylen Brown and was like, how lucky are we to have this guy? Al Horford and these hustle plays, this was a massive reason why the Celtics are able to win this, because it gave the Celtics a ton more opportunities. Boston did not shoot well from from anywhere really, but the three-pointers, 13 of 47, 27.7%. The Hawks, 19 of 53, not much better, but 36% is about average. So the Celtics got outscored by, 18 points at the three-point line. But because they got so many more opportunities, they were able to get putbacks. They were able to get easier shots on second chance opportunities. They outscored the Atlanta Hawks by 24 points on 2-pointers. So that difference, that 6-point difference, is the difference between winning and losing. And tack on, they won the free throw battle. They got 4 points at the free throw line. So there's your 10-point win. You might be able to hear behind me that, if in fact on the YouTube page, I'm going to move out of the way. That's the old in-season tournament court. The Celtics are playing the in-season tournament game on Tuesday. They got to win that game by 23. They got to beat the Chicago Bulls by 23 to advance, or have a chance at advancing. That doesn't even guarantee them advancing. Nevertheless, Al making those plays, Sam Hauser made plays, Nemayesh Keita made plays. Everybody made some sort of hustle play, little thing. And those little things, when Joe Mazzulla said before the season started, we need to find ways to win when we're not shooting well. We can't let a 30% shooting night just be the end of us. The Celtics never really got going shooting wise, and they still were up 20 at one point. They gave up that lead. Okay, it got down to 6. They bumped it back up, but in the fourth quarter, I don't think it got below 8 in the fourth quarter. You win by double digits. Big picture, that's great. Perfect at home, 7-0 at home. Atlanta is not great, but they don't suck, and they're capable of hitting shots. Bogdanovich hit a bunch of shots. Trae Young early on especially hit a bunch of shots. Hunter hit a bunch of shots. These guys are capable. You give them open looks from 3, and I think the Celtics gave them a lot of open looks from 3, and they're going to knock some of them down, and that's how it goes. So to hold on, to shoot poorly, still win by 10, still put up 113 points, which is good. That says a lot. And it's defense. You hold a team. Atlanta came in with the second best offense in the league. They had an offensive rating of about 120 something in this one. Let's check what I didn't even know that's coming in, but what their offensive rating in this game, 104. So that's a massive, massive defensive performance from the Celtics. Some of it, no doubt, was Atlanta was missing. They missed a ton of shots too. They missed a bunch of shots that I thought they could make. There's one sequence in the second quarter, I think, where the Hawks had like 3 point blank shots and they missed. And it was like, if that's going to be how their night's going to go, then the Celtics should win this game. So some of it was defense and some of it was just shooting luck. But either way, the bottom line is, when you're not shooting well, you got to do these other things. You got to get down and dirty on defense. You got to get in there and rebound. Al had 15 rebounds, 12 defensive rebounds. So on 12 possessions alone, Al Horford is shutting down the Hawks in their ability to extend their possessions. Meanwhile, 3 offensive rebounds for him, 18 offensive rebounds overall. The Celtics are extending their own possessions. That matters. And if you're not shooting well, the only thing you have is volume. I've said this before. The only thing you have when you're not shooting well is you got to find a way to get yourself more chances. Whether it's a 3 or a 2, it's whatever good shot you can take. But the only chance you have is to keep getting more possessions. So one of these shots is going to fall. So the Celtics took 95 shots in this game, which is, let me get back to that. They took 95 shots in this game, 88 shots for the Atlanta Hawks. So 7 more possessions were, 7 more shot opportunities for the Celtics. And then they get to the line, it's pretty even, 20 free throws to the 19 for the Hawks. The Hawks, 12 of 19 for a team that was shooting that well from 3. That's kind of surprising, but the Celtics getting their opportunities, getting to the line, getting those 2-point opportunities, those putback opportunities. That's how you win a game, when you shoot 27.7% from 3. Al Horford was in the middle of it all, and super impressive. Super impressive when Al's doing that stuff. Other things that I liked, the surprises. We'll talk a little bit about Nemayesh Keita. We'll talk a little bit about Delano Banton. We'll talk a little bit about some of the other things that I like before I get into some of the stuff that I didn't like in this game. Today's show is brought to you by PrizePicks. PrizePicks is daily fantasy made easy. It's done right because it's you against projections. They set the projections, and you just have to figure out, is it more or less? You're not playing against me. You're not playing against sharks. You're not playing against people with algorithms and computing power that you don't have, advantages that you don't have. And so that makes it a lot of fun to play daily fantasy sports. So what else makes it fun? There's specials league, which means you can go and pick a combination of football things and basketball things. And if you pick more or less the right combination of those, then you can win. It's a fun way to have, multiple sport action there. You also can play without fear of injury, because if your guy is hurt before in the first half and doesn't come back, that player's rebooted. It's insurance. That only PrizePicks has, is the only daily fantasy sports platform with that kind of injury insurance. So sounds good to me. You should be out there playing it, and you should be going to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNBA. Use the code LockedOnNBA, all lowercase. You're going to get a first deposit match up to $100. So that's an added bonus. Go sign up now. prizepicks.com/LockedOnNBA. Use that code LockedOnNBA. First deposit match up to $100. It's just the best daily fantasy sports, because it's daily fantasy sports made easy. Thank you for making Locked On Celtics your first listen every day. Go check out the first ever national sports streaming channel on YouTube. It's called Locked On Sports Today. It's here for you 24/7. It's got all the local experts. Our national shows are on there. Put it on, leave it on, stream it in the background. It's just going to have you covered all day long. Check in whenever you want. It's just a great thing. And it's the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel. That's pretty cool to me. All right. Boston Celtics, they made an interesting decision to start Delano Banton in place of Drew Holiday. That typically had gone to Sam Hauser. The Celtics, it's interesting. Sam has not done particularly well as a starter. So I think two things were in play here. Keep the bench unit together, keep a little continuity there. And Banton allowed them to switch, because if you started Pritchard, if you wanted to go with Pritchard against the Hawks, well, you could have done that, but switching can get you into trouble against some of their taller shooters. So starting Banton allowed them to switch. They switched effectively. They built a big lead. I thought Banton was okay. He made some mistakes for sure, but he was okay. Nemayesh Keita got minutes. He was okay too. He did. At first, it did not look like he would be. He missed a couple of little short jump hooks. I don't know if he was nervous. I don't know if he was anxious or whatever, but he missed a couple. So his shooting percentages were not particularly great in this one. What he finished shooting there, 3 of 8 for a big guy. 3 of 8's not good. You got to be 5 of. Well, all right. I'll put it this way. He had 6 offensive rebounds. 3 of them were his own misses. So when I say he should have been 5 of 8 or 6 of 8, no, it's he took the 8 shots because he missed his own. He got tip-ins or put back opportunities. So what he should have been was 3 of 4 or 3 of 5 instead of missing his own opportunities there. But 3 of his offensive rebounds were his own misses. But he still got 3 other ones, and 10 rebounds overall in 15 minutes. That's pretty good. And he, drew a foul there, got a steal. He did okay. When the Celtics went on their big run, he checked back in and he really helped. He was part of the answer to that run. So that's meaningful for a guy like Keita. And he said, hey, look, I went to the G League. I got some reps there. It felt good. So that was good. Let's just go down the box score, because there wasn't much to dislike in this game, in my opinion. Jaylen Brown had a decent game, 21 points, 9 of 19, 2 of 7 from 3, 7 rebounds, 3 assists, a steal, just 2 turnovers. So that was good. He had a wild play where he kind of fell. I think it was over DeAndre Hunter, kind of fell on his back. He says he's feeling okay after that, but he also said it felt like he was being in a little bit of a car accident. Like it was a bad fall. Like he fell square on his back. And it took him a little while to get up. He's going to be sore. I think he's going to be okay, but he's going to be a little sore. But he had himself a decent game. And I think, look, I've obviously been critical of Jaylen. I think his start to the season has been a little rough. I think he has been one of those guys that has maybe struggled the most. And he said after the game, look, we're still learning. We're all adjusting to one another. The language that he's been using after games tells you he's still figuring things out. And it's tough. Porzingis is, out for a while. He's developed that chemistry with Porzingis, and now he's kind of lost that. Drew Holiday is out. He, trusts Drew Holiday. He, that's just another really good player that can get him the ball and can help work the ball around. So it's a little more falling on Jaylen. And it's been a little bit tough. I will say that he's been moving the ball a lot better in the last couple of games. I think, the hero ball against Orlando, there might have been some more of it, but I think he's starting to figure out. My opinion, as we start to get a little deeper into the season, like it's one thing to, like I've been doing, to highlight it and say he needs to be better. And I think now we're starting to get more into the why. This is about the time you start to figure out the why, right? The Celtics have played, 16 games, and you're about a quarter of the way through the season, and you're starting to see the patterns emerge. You're starting to see the why come about. You're starting to see, hey, Porzingis is really important, and they need to do, like I've been saying, they need to, when he's healthy, play a lot more Porzingis and Brown together. It's just the combination that works. Holiday is important. Derek White is massively important to this team. And I think Jaylen's why is that he's just had the hardest adjustment. So I think some of it is he is just kind of going to what he knows and what he's best at, and that's attacking and scoring. He's a scorer. He's never been the biggest distributor. But he said after this game, I think I'm a better basketball player than I've been this year. And that's because he's figuring out how to make the reads. It's a process. And I think he's kind of growing. So as much as I think he has shown, how do I say this? Shown the least as far as like new stuff, I'm starting to see it come around a little bit more. I'm starting to see some new stuff from him as far as how long he's holding the ball. I think we're starting to see fewer possessions where he's holding the ball and like slowing things down. He's moving the ball. He's moving himself. I think he's starting to get it as far as the timing, the cadence, what's necessary, what he needs. He even said after the game, I got to find that balance between being that killer, being that aggressive guy, and finding my teammates and making them better and getting them set up. So it's all part of the process. So Jaylen had a decent game, but I do think that he's progressing. So to be fair, I think that's important. Jayson Tatum was great as usual. 34 points, 9 rebounds, 4 assists. That's kind of like ho-hum. He had a big first quarter. Like he had 10 in the first, 11 in the second. He had 13 in the third. So there you go, 34 points, and 13 in the fourth, I should say. It just kind of felt like standard operating procedure for Jayson Tatum. Who else was in there? Sam Hauser had a decent game. I thought he 11 points, 4 of 9 shooting from 3, but Also, like tough rebounds, a couple of tough rebounds in there, 2 offensive rebounds for him. I thought he's another guy that made the hustle plays. And like the play at the end, it was after that Horford corner crash where he just ran the floor and made sure he was running the floor, didn't take anything for granted. The ball gets poked away from Tatum, and he's right there to get it and tip it to Delano Banton for the dunk. That was a nice play from Sam Hauser. And Derek White shoots 5 of 13, 0 for 6, and finishes with 15 points, and he was a plus 29. That's how good Derek White is. He gets to do all that stuff and is a plus 29. I'll continue this and get into some of the things I didn't like, including that run, and I'm going to yell at the Atlanta Hawks for being the worst defensive team I've ever seen, at least in some stretches. Today's show is brought to you by FanDuel. Oh, we love FanDuel over here because they're America's number one sports book. And as the weather gets colder, NFL offers get hot, stay hot on FanDuel. If you're a new customer, you can get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 money line bet. That's $150 if your team wins. Very simple. So if you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, this is the best time to do it. The app, super easy to use, super easy to scroll through, different sports, different ideas for you to, if you want to bet a little bit of money, spreads, player props, over-unders, all of that stuff. Plus, you can stack things in an in-game, same-game parlay. You can find just about anything you want as far as sports go there. FanDuel.com/lockedon. Get yourself going here this NFL season, this NBA season. FanDuel is the official partner of the NFL. And they've got these great tools on FanDuel to help you set your limits, to help you make sure that you're having fun without having too much fun, and so you can gamble responsibly. Thank you for making Locked On Celtics your first listen every day. Become an everydayer. Be with me every day. Shout out to all the people. I had like 5 people come up to me at the game here telling me that you listen every day, you pop it in the car, you pop it on your walks. I love the fact that so many people have come and said hi. Thank you so much. Join them. Become an everydayer. Subscribe wherever you get your podcasts, and have fun with me. Get into the comment section. Let me know what you're thinking about these games. All right, so I put this in the dislike because no one likes seeing the Celtics give up a 16-3 run, fueled almost entirely by Bogdan Bogdanović with a little sprinkle of DeAndre Hunter. Both of those guys were 6 of 10 from 3 in that third quarter. Boston was 2 of 10 overall from 3 in that third quarter. Where the Celtics just got outplayed badly. They 29-21 was the final there in the third quarter. The Celtics just I asked Joe Mazzulla after the game about the defense, and he said because the Celtics were giving the Hawks open looks, and he kind of made it sound like you got to pick your poison with the Hawks. And they, in the third quarter, they were trying to get away from. They tried to mix up their defense. In the beginning, they were switching and sending. They were switching a lot, and they were covering the pick and rolls one way, and then in the third quarter, they were trying to cover them a different way, and all of a sudden the Hawks kind of explode, and it looks like to me, these guys are breaking free and no one's really challenging them. So what Joe said was like, yeah, you might have seen that, but it was a product of them not doing the things they were supposed to do. And this is where, okay, it's 16-3, right? And they do eventually call the timeout, and they get back on track. It was a nice little like 7-2 kind of answer. Nothing crazy, but they stem the tide. They go into the fourth quarter up 8, and they never get down below 8. So lead was always kind of safe the rest of the way. And look, you give up a bunch of threes. It was all 3-pointer fueled. So in today's NBA, a 20-point lead going down to 6, like I feel like we're all still conditioned like, yeah, that's horrible, right? It's you give up 14 points on the lead. It happens so quick. It happens so like if you're not on point defensively, and that was a stretch in the third quarter where they just weren't, that stuff can happen. Bogdanovich is absolutely capable of being getting that hot and staying that hot and killing you. We've seen it before. It's something that you just, every team everywhere is going to give up those runs. It's just how it goes. It's not like the Celtics are alone in you lose that lead, but it's how you answer. It's how you respond. And the Celtics responded well. So yeah, would you like them to stay up 20? Yes, of course, obviously, but no game's going to be perfect. And I think part of it, and Joe kind of said as much after the game, at this point of the season, you're letting certain things go a little bit longer than you might later in the season. And that will lead to runs like this, 8-0, 10-0, 12-2, 16-3, because you're letting the team kind of work through, like, hey, this is the defense. This is the coverage that we're running. I need you to continue to run that coverage. Like, let's go. Let's figure it out here. And you might say, well, that's where you call a timeout and you get them working that coverage. Yes, but also they need to be able to figure it out on their own in the game. You can't be like, you can't hold their hands through everything. You do have 7 timeouts. And at that point, he had 5. And I know you go into the fourth with 4, so he was going to lose it anyway. So he called it. So that's kind of like a use it or lose it timeout. He had it. He called it. They got back together. They figured it out. But I think he kind of sort of admitted after the game to letting certain things, when it's not working, letting it go a little bit more. Like, hey, right now in November, December is coming up. You let your team kind of figure it out a little bit more, because they're going to need to figure it out. This is the thing. They're going to need to figure it out at some point. And frankly, I don't mind that these games aren't going perfectly. First of all, the Celtics are still the best team in the league. They have the best record in the league. They're 7-0 at home. So what more do you want? Like, this is exactly what you want. 12-4, perfect at home, winning most of the games that they should. Maybe you lose a couple that you shouldn't, but Orlando's good. That's not in that category. Minnesota is good. That's not in that category. That's 2. Charlotte is bad. That's one of them, right? You lost to Philly. So you lost 3 games that now, in retrospect, losing to Minnesota, losing to Orlando is not a big deal. That's kind of, a lot of teams are losing to those teams. Minnesota is challenging Boston for the best record in the league right now. Orlando is right behind Boston in the standings. They lost to Philly. Philly is right there near the top of the standings. So Charlotte is really the only kind of like bad loss. They had a couple of bad wins, I suppose you can call them, in Toronto and in Memphis. That game was horrible in Memphis. So I get it. I'm fine with this being maybe a little more choppy than people would want. Let's be honest with ourselves. This was never going to come out and be like perfect out of the gate. And I know people want perfection all the time. They want the Celtics to come out and win every game by 20 so you can pound your chest and, scream on Twitter or wherever and be like, look at my team. I love my team. Look how perfect they are. And they're not. But I would rather them not be perfect now than not be perfect later. Last year's team started out blazing hot. And, once they hit a rough patch, they could never get it back. I would rather have the team start slowly now, go through a rough patch, even if it leads to a win, go through their rough patches and figure it out. They're going to need to figure it out. This is a new team, right? They have Horford coming off the bench. They have Porzingis and Holiday as major pieces. They're using Hauser a lot more. They're just it's some of the same guys, but it's a new. Joe Mazzulla is more comfortable in trying new things and coaching in a little bit of a different way. All of this stuff needs time to kind of coalesce. It's kind of impressive that these guys are playing like having these bad stretches and still winning these games. That's the important part. They're still winning these games. So that run kind of sucked. And there's another 20-point lead that the Celtics let slip down to 6. They caught it. They stopped it. And some of it is part of the learning curve, and some of it is they're going to have to figure things out. And some of it is stuff that you would like to prevent, and maybe there's some old habits in there. Sometimes the other team just hits some shots. You go through a stretch of playing bad defense, they take advantage of it. And hey, I like the way they responded. And like I said, I'm happy that they're actually taking a normal path. You hit your rough patches earlier in the year, you figure things out, you smooth things out. Then after the All-Star break, maybe you take off a little bit, you start playing your best basketball in, February, March, and April. There you go. That's where the Celtics should be. So you shouldn't be expecting the Celtics to play their best basketball in October, November, December. That's where the learning process is happening. And here we are. And they're winning. They won. They beat the Hawks, and maybe they'll beat the Chicago Bulls on Tuesday night by 23, which is what they need to have a chance in the in-season tournament. You don't have to tell me you don't like the in-season tournament. I know you don't. If you're in the comments and you say, I hate the in-season, I get it. I know. You don't have to tell me. I know. I don't mind it. Try something new. So we'll see what happens. Either way, check out the game. I'll be here after the game. I'll be here all week long. When the game is played, you'll listen to the radio call on the SiriusXM app, SXM, search Celtics, and you get the Grandy and Max call. That's fun. If you don't want to hear the national broadcast, sync your audio up to Grandy and Max on the SiriusXM app. Have yourself a blast with the local call. And I would love it if you're here with me every day. If you're an everydayer, thank you so, so much. Now, if you could do me that one favor of sharing the podcast, spread the word, tell your friends that they should be listening to and watching the Locked On Celtics podcast right here on the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day.